Giants fans, thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Only a Giant. A lot I want to get to today. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a delay as far as getting these episodes out. And yeah, I mean, what can you really say about that other than, this is probably one of the, it might be the worst season, Giants football season that I've ever experienced in my life. I'm 35 years old. Obviously there were some bad times when I was a little bit younger, but, really when I first started following football really close, I would say it was like Kerry Collins time, Tiki, stuff of that nature. And yeah, there were some down times and there were some bad times, but there was always hope that, you just never felt so hopeless, I guess. I mean, there are times this year where, you kind of maybe saw some sparks and just some things were starting to click a little bit, but man, you just never really got there, I guess. I don't know. I do feel a little bit bad for Judge in some sense where, there, these random reports that are coming out that he actually really liked Brian Daboll and he was trying to bring him over as his OC. But, Garrett was kind of forced on him. I don't know. I'm not in the know. I don't know if these things are true. But man, it was just a rough year as a Giants fan. And, especially when you're throwing in the additional week this year, just makes it tough, man. And I'm not the only one, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here. I know all my friends kind of felt the same way. I still watched all the games, but man, I didn't feel good about it. It felt dirty. Kind of felt dirty watching the final 4, 5, 6 games where literally there was no chance. It didn't feel like we're in any of the games. So needless to say, that's kind of why there's a delay on my end. I kind of wanted to get to the off season, get things figured out a little bit. I kind of, honestly, I was going to wait till we had our OC, DC kind of figured out as well before I started recording again. But Daboll's got me excited. He's kind of, he seems very genuine. And I know Judge came in and kind of, blew us out of the water with his press conference and kind of everything that he talked about, and rightfully so, because he absolutely did. But it's tough with Judge. Judge, seemed so genuine, but at the same time almost didn't. Seemed like it was very scripted as far as like probably very well prepared in his head and his mind of exactly what he was going to say. And he kind of gave that answer all the time. He was very smart, almost too smart to where sometimes it did feel like his answers were kind of pre-recorded, and he knew exactly what he was going to say. And Daboll, I just got done listening to the press conference today where he was introduced as the Giants' new head coach. A couple things I'll say. He seemed prepared, but he also seems down to earth and kind of one of the people. He doesn't sound like he's smarter than everyone else. And I think that's one thing with Judge, where, he always kind of seemed like he was the smartest person in the room, or maybe acted like he was the smartest person in the room. And you just kind of felt that, it felt palpable. Daboll seems down to earth. Seems like he has good head on his shoulders. Judge, we weren't really looking for an offensive or defensive mind. We were looking for a head coach, where this time really looked like, or seemed like, we were looking for an offensive mind for sure, after the pitiful performance we've seen with this offense over the last 2 years, really, at least. But Daboll just seemed more down to earth, more one of the people, I guess, if you will. And my buddy Curtis pointed out, you got to see results on the field. And yes, Curtis, you're 100% right. These press conferences mean nothing. Look at Joe Judge, from last year, and even Matt Rule from, the same year that Judge was hired, kind of had a lot of good speeches, a lot of good press conferences and stuff of that nature. And it just goes to show that doesn't always mean everything. Now, that being said, I think there's still things that you can take from this. Brian Daboll had head coaching interviews, basically had that job locked up in San Diego or Las Vegas, wherever the heck they are these days. So, he at least interviews well, and, maybe has the experience because he basically had that job locked up, and then the current coach kind of came in and blew everyone away. So, he has the experience. You see the progress that he has made with the Bills offense from taking, Josh Allen from being, a rookie and kind of a blank slate, as they called it, to developing him into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And one of the things that I really took away from that press conference that I really liked is, Brian Daboll says he asked Daniel Jones to point out some plays and some concepts and some things that he really liked with the time that he was with the Giants and when he was at Duke. And then they're going to kind of try to build around that, see what they can make that successful for him. If you go back to, his rookie year with Shurmur and Shurmur's offense, man, attacking downfield, getting the ball out of his hands. Didn't always have to be the first read, could have been the second read, could have been the third read, but you knew he was able to hit the right read and get the ball downfield, make those throws because he has a good arm, he has good accuracy downfield. The numbers have proven that. And then, we came in with Garrett and everything changed. This turned into like a horizontal offense instead of a vertical offense. Not a lot of balls downfield other than, some sporadic stuff here and there. And yeah, sure. You can say that's offensive line. You can say all of that nonsense. And that it does hold truth. I'm not saying it doesn't, but we did it with Shurmur, in kind of a very similar offensive line. It wasn't better. I guess maybe it was a little bit better than this year, but that's not the point. The point is that, he was able to attack downfield prior with no issue. And obviously the fumbles were the issue and the turnovers were the issue. And that is kind of a product of the pressure and everything from the offensive line, but he was able to do it, and if he was able to kind of avoid pressure a little bit more and kind of avoid those sacks, he would have been rookie of the year and everything would have looked great. And I think that's one thing that I can say pretty confidently, I think at least, that I thought Daniel Jones did a much better job this year as far as avoiding pressure, getting out of sacks or would-be sacks. Yeah, he still took them, and sometimes they were head scratchers, but he did a much better job this year with avoiding those, with mobility in the pocket. I did think actually improved quite a bit this year, and I think that'll kind of go a long way towards fixing everything. You just hope he's not too shell-shocked at this point. He has gotten sacked a lot. He has been under a lot of pressure. He has had injuries. It's something where you just hope it's not too late. Do I think that they move forward with Daniel Jones long term? I don't know. It's something where this is gonna be a big year for him, and I know he said the same exact damn thing last time, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens though. I don't think they pick up the second or the fifth year option, or maybe they do, but I think more than anything they'll they won't pick that up, but maybe they'll try to negotiate some type of little contract extension if they can, and try to get him, maybe on the books for another year or something like that with something spread out, and just see how this year goes and go from there. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just kind of let him, use this final year as a prove-it year and go from there. But I would just hate to get into a situation where maybe he balls out this year and we end up having to pay him 28, 29, 30 mil instead of, 20. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I did want to get into a couple other things before I really jumped into Brian Daboll, but I just got excited, definitely some exciting times, for the Giants for once. And we'll kind of get into a little bit more of that because I do want to kind of take a step back, but I wanted to talk about Daboll a little bit just because that's topic of mine. He just had his, introductory press conference. We'll talk about the defensive coordinator thing, the offensive coordinator a little bit. I'll talk about Shane real quick as well. But I just wanted to kind of give a quick shout out to to the Fair Deli Market, which is in Syracuse here, or kind of near the fairgrounds. A pretty amazing beer selection. You know, I know if you guys have listened to me in the past, I've always kind of done a little bit of a beer section where, you know, I'll kind of introduce a new beer and, you know, go over kind of what I think, initial taste, kind of all that stuff. And I kind of want to get back into that. You know, I know this season, man, took a turn. You know, this was a rough season, so I kind of got away from doing that a little bit. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna kind of introduce a new beer here from Fair Deli that I got, and the beer is it's from Flying Monkey. It's a triple IPA. It's called Sparkle Puff. It's got like a picture of a cat on the front of it with like laser beams shooting out of the eye. It says Galaxy Starfighter, Defender of the Universe. It's actually made in Canada, which I did not know. Flying Monkey actually does a chocolate manifesto, which is one of my all-time favorite beers. I actually got that as well, I'll be honest with you. But the beer selection there is absolutely amazing. I was honestly blown away. I have a friend that works there too, so actually his family owns it, I believe. But really just an amazing beer selection there. I was honestly really impressed, as well as, you know, the food that they had was pretty amazing too. So we'll kind of introduce this beer. We'll do a rating on Untappd like we used to, and kind of get back into that a little bit, because that is fun. You know, that is something that I enjoy doing with this. And let's remember, you know, I'm not doing that. I don't get paid for this. I'm not, you know, Talking Giants. I'm not, you know, some big podcast or anything like that. I'm just a little guy here. I'm just doing this for fun, and it's something I really enjoy doing. So let's get back to what makes this fun. You know what I mean? So we're going to give this a little bit of a rating on Untappd. You can find me on Untappd at onlyagiant_86, I believe is what it is, but I'll double check that in a moment. And we'll get right into it. One of the quotes on the can, actually, I think is really cool, says, "Normal is weird." This is an extra strong beer. It's a triple IPA. Definitely something I would check out. Like I said, it's located, the brewery actually is located in Canada, it looks like. 10.2%. So let's go. Let's do it. Let's get it. All right. So first taste here. It's good. So one of the things I like about this beer is you kind of get that intense flavor up front, but then it kind of gets subtle after that. You don't get hit in the face. And for a triple IPA, that's actually pretty impressive, because triple IPAs are definitely not for everybody. You know, a lot of times it's more to do with, you know, the strong nature of the beer and the hops and kind of everything that's going on with it. That's smooth. Let me get a little bit more of that. Yeah, it's good. I'm definitely not like a beer connoisseur here. I'm not going to say, oh, this has a slight malty taste or, you know, anything like that. Biggest things I like to do is, you know, that initial taste, the initial flavor, the first time it hits your mouth and kind of what you feel about it. It has good flavor. You can definitely tell it's a triple IPA, but it's not smacking you in the face. And it's subtle, kind of, you know, you get the initial flavor and then it's kind of subtle after that. It's not bland. There's flavor. You can tell it's 10%, but that's a really good beer. Out of 5, I'd probably give that. Oh man, one more little taste here. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. You know, sometimes I do get into like, you know, 4.5s and stuff like that, but I'll give it a 4. Very good beer. As far as triple IPAs, I don't have a lot of experience. There's really only one other one I've had, and I can't even think of the brewery off the top of my head. But that was good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. So, like I said, you can follow me on Untappd at onlyagiant_86, I believe is what it is. And maybe I'll throw a link up there on Twitter to kind of, you know, update people with the correct information here. So yeah, let's get into a little bit more of kind of everything going on here. Obviously, it's Only a Giant Podcast is my Untappd username, and you can find me on Twitter at only a giant underscore 86. I knew that came from somewhere. So let's get into a little bit more of the information here. I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out podcast episode here, but I want to kind of go over a couple different things. Obviously, the season is over. As the season kind of went on, man, I was torn. I kind of thought we needed to fire Judge, but I didn't think we were going to actually do it. The initial reports came out that we weren't firing him, and I wasn't surprised. I mean, I'm sure most Giants fans weren't. Doesn't mean we were unhappy about it, but not surprised. So definitely more surprised once it actually happened, and we'll go from there. But the biggest thing that I think everyone could agree with was Jason Garrett. Something needed to change there. So was that going to happen? If Judge got fired, and how is that going to kind of be handled? I was a pretty big Patrick Graham critic to start the year because I just felt like our defense was performing worse than the year before with more weapons, more tools on the defense. And that was honestly a big part of the reason that I was unsure on Patrick Graham. Now, I think throughout the rest of the year, I think he kind of came on and things started looking a little bit better, but it's tough, man. It's tough to have a consistent consistent defense when your offense is so bad. So it's almost kind of give him a pass. But he did turn it around, and everything actually looked a lot better towards the end of the year as far as the defense is concerned. And I really hope we retain him. And then kind of, getting back to Daboll here and his staff, Ken Dorsey, obviously you kind of got to hope that comes true and he comes over. Biggest reason for that, consistency. Daboll will have his guy and kind of, maybe Daboll can focus a little bit more on the day-to-day operations for the Giants and running an actual game rather than just worrying about the offense. And that's one thing I think that, if Dorsey isn't here, that could change. If Dorsey isn't here, maybe Daboll does call the plays. I'm of the mindset where I would really prefer a head coach to be a head coach and not an offensive coordinator, but we'll see what happens there. I do hope Ken Dorsey comes over. Obviously, I know they have to do a couple interviews. They have to, fulfill the Rooney Rule, I think, with, one minority candidate in-person interview. So that's the offensive coordinator. I don't really know who else they would bring over at this time, but I think a lot of it hinges on that. And then, as far as the defensive coordinator, I'm all for keeping Patrick Graham as our defensive coordinator. I think that's the best move possible and would really help stabilize the defense a little bit. Obviously, a lot of the players are already really familiar with Patrick Graham. You hope he gets a head coaching job, sure. Maybe the Vikings thing will come through. And the picks will be nice. But that, if we retain him, he has a good year. Probably next year he gets a head coaching gig. It's kind of how it works. So that being said, I really would like to retain him for this year at least. To even if it's just for the year, just to hold a little bit of stability within the defense. And then I do really think also it'll be interesting to see how the defense changes under Daboll being the head coach, because I really wonder if Joe Judge had a lot of say as far as how bend don't break the defense was, because obviously with Patrick Graham, they always talked about this being an attacking defense, tight man-to-man coverage, getting pressure. Yeah, the tools quite weren't there. As far as like the pass rush and stuff of that nature. But I just think it'll be interesting to see how things change with Patrick Graham if he does stay under Brian Daboll. Obviously, you want Daboll to have say in the defense, but I just think Judge is kind of proving more and more that he had his hands literally in everything. And that's not always a bad thing, but maybe in this case it was. So yeah, really Patrick Graham's got to be the number one option, and I hope he stays. If he gets a head coaching job, then good for him. But for stability purposes, for the way this defense is kind of being built, I'd really like to see him, have another year, maybe get a pass rusher, maybe we'll get Thibodeau or something here, and kind of keep improving this defense and see what happens. Obviously, we're going to have some free agents that are going to leave and probably not get re-signed, and maybe even some guys let go. We'll get into that a little bit later in the offseason. But Graham's got to stay. And then we'll kind of go from there. Obviously, we're going to hopefully have a good offensive line coach here somewhere, too. I don't know who the right option for that is either, but I'm sure Daboll will do a good job hiring that staff. When it comes to the GM interviews, kind of take a step back to that as well. I think it was clear that Shane was the number one option the whole time. Props to the owners for kind of getting out of the way, John Mara here. And, props for getting out of the way and letting the guys interview and pretty much giving them the options that they will have to run this organization and run it the right way and hopefully not have as much say from the GM or from the owners. Obviously, they'll always have a say, and that's one thing I think is kind of funny when people get pissy that John Mara says, well, yeah, I have to sign off on things. He's the freaking owner. Yeah. He's going to sign off on things. He's going to have to sign off on things. But it sounds like he's really allowing Shane to do the things that he's going to do. And I think proof of that is hiring Joe Shane and allowing him to do that. And then Daboll being hired too, because I really do think if Mara had the choice, I think Brian Flores would have been the guy because he knows him and he's comfortable with him. And had there been another GM, maybe that would have been the hire. I would have been fine with a couple other GM guys. I would have been fine with Poles. Really, it kind of came down to him and to Shane and Poles. Really, for me, I know that may not have been the popular answer, but those are kind of my really, really two big guys that I really wanted. Now, this is going to kind of be short because we really don't have a lot of stuff yet. We still don't know who the DC is. We don't know who the offense coordinator is. Obviously, we witnessed the Daboll interview and the Joe Shane interview, so that's kind of really all we have to go off with for the moment. So we'll kind of keep this short. I don't want to bore you guys and kind of ramble on here about a bunch of different things that we don't really need. Yeah, I haven't recorded a podcast in a little while because the season was kind of finished off so rough. I don't think anyone needs a reminder on how bad the season was. We all lived it. It was miserable. It was pathetic. It just wasn't fun. It was probably, like I said, the worst season as a Giants fan I've ever had. I still sat through the game, still, got pissed off as much as probably anyone else. But it is what it is. The season's over, so let's kind of embrace that and be happy about it. Let's watch the Super Bowl here. That for me, maybe as a Giants fan, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm happy for Odell. I'm happy he's in the Super Bowl. I do think this is a Super Bowl that the Rams should kind of run away with, but I think also Burrow has kind of shown he's a winner, man. Guy shows up when it's needed. I think this Cincinnati Bengals team's a little bit outmatched, but they're a lot like the Giants in 2007. Playing with house money. Just no cares to the wind here. Let's go out and play some football and have some fun. No, I'm not comparing Joe Burrow to Eli Manning. I'm not doing that. But it kind of just reminds me, of that team kind of playing with house money, a year early. But maybe that's for a good thing. And I do think this is going to be a team that's going to compete for a little while moving forward because Joe Burrow is just that good. Jamar Chase is proving to be that. Get that team a little bit of a better offensive line, and they're going to be fun to watch. And I believe they have a decent amount of cap space too. So, all right, guys. Well, Super Bowl we'll talk about maybe a little bit closer, maybe next week. Right now, early prediction, I'm saying Rams 34-20. Kind of close, but something where it's a 2-score game. Maybe the Bengals have a chance towards the end to kind of cut it down to 1 score, but I think the defense is too good for the for the Bengals, and Matt Stafford. I think it's about time he wins one, and I wouldn't be shocked if he wins another 1 or 2 after this. With the Rams, this is a good Rams team. I think they can keep kind of pushing things off by a year, as far as like cap space and everything like that, and really, really going to run here for a couple years. So that's everything I got guys, today. I really just kind of wanted to get out there and talk about the Brian Daboll interview. Really nice to feel excited about the team and kind of everything going forward. Obviously, it's only a press conference. It's only an interview, but you like kind of the authenticity that Daboll is presenting. There's a quote by Stefan Diggs, too, that actually I really like, too. So let me pull that up here real quick. Basically, it was just saying... Where is it? Here it is. Oh, maybe I'm lying. Here it is, yeah. Stefan Diggs, Daboll is my guy forever, and that's the Giants. And that Giants players should not mistake his kindness for being a pushover, because you do kind of see like he almost looks like he could maybe be a little bit of a pushover, but you kind of see the look in his eye too that he's not a guy you really want to mess with. So, guys, that's it. Thanks so much for joining me. Now that we're kind of getting closer to off season and everything here, we'll probably be recording pretty close to once a week, at least until draft, and we'll see what happens there, or maybe we'll take a couple weeks off until we kind of get into free agency. We'll see. Things kind of slow down here for a little bit. I am excited that Daboll seems excited about working with Daniel Jones. I definitely think that's something that he's going to have to do, really. There's not a lot of other options right now. Wouldn't be shocked to see Saquon be traded, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit later too. Guys, for now, that's all. Let's freaking go.